Before I begin, big disclaimer. I am not a professional. I'm not even an amateur. I'm honestly just trying to get more than like 13 views on a video. These are strictly my opinions, nothing more, nothing less. My word is not law. Secondly, spoilers ahead of whatever the heck I'm working on for this video. Nothing I hate more than getting a game spoiled for me, so I'd hate to do it to you. Cheers. So I finally finished God of War Ragnarok, and the first thing I'd have to say is, damn, good job, Santa Monica. Wow. Applause. The game came out swinging hard from its 2018 masterpiece, and I cannot lie, I loved every bit of it. Gameplay, visuals, and story all came together into what I might boldly give it a 10 out of 10. And now, of course, that's my 10 out of 10. That's not everybody's 10 out of 10. But for once, I think I'm making a point that a lot of people would agree upon. At a bare minimum, I think most people are giving it between an 8, 9, or 10 out of 10, and it's well deserving of any of that. So far, I've only had a few gripes and complaints, and I wouldn't even call them that. I would call them little nitpicks at best, just for me to try to confuse myself into thinking that it's not perfect. But of course, it isn't perfect, but it's perfect to me, if that makes sense. This game ended off in such a phenomenal fashion. It ended off in a cinematic fashion. 42 hours of story all came together for this incredible twist ending of Tyr actually being Odin, Brock dying, hunting down Surtur, starting Ragnarok, killing Heimdall, all these crazy moments crammed in the last 6 hours of the game that just pulled everything I just did for the entire 42-hour campaign together phenomenally. The war between the realms came out like a Michael Bay film, well, a better written Michael Bay film, and it ended with this tragic, beautiful death of Thor that I didn't think was going to be as emotional as it would be, and for Atreus to pick the path. The message in this story is that prophecy does not define you. It's repeated over and over again in the story. It's something that Kratos hasn't believed in from the get-go, and Atreus struggled with it throughout the story, but then realizes that it's up to him to write his own story. Atreus breaking the mask in front of Odin to teach him a lesson, to try to guide him in the right direction, even though he probably knew that Odin wasn't going to listen, was true character building. I loved every bit of it. Taking his soul and putting it in the stone to let his fate hang in the balance, for that to be crushed by Sindri in the end due to his anger and his character change, being more evil and being more depressing, all came together with so many emotions that I absolutely loved. Each character gets a redemption arc of some kind in this game, for better or for worse, and I loved every bit of it. Like most people, I kind of wanted that heroic death out of Kratos. I wanted to see Kratos sacrifice himself for the greater good of Atreus and have Atreus become older and wiser because of it. But then I played the ending of Ragnarok and thought, you know what? This is a happy ending with some loose ends, and not in a bad way. Kratos has come full circle, and not from 2018. I'm talking all the way back in 2005. Kratos started with us as this arrogant, selfish man who was there to kill his father Zeus and take over the Greek pantheon. He had already lost an entire family to which he still wears as ashes on his skin, still constantly reminded that he picked the wrong battles, that he let his anger overtake him, but then soon learned to love again, to start another family again, and to have Atreus bring him around and fully develop his character into this new amazing father figure, a general of the right army, a morally together army, to go from the angry god of war to the leader god of war in the north. All to bring together where now Atreus has his own journey. And this is what I want to talk about mainly. Where is this story going to go? Is it even going to continue? Although the ending was put together so gratefully, it also asks a ton of questions. Is this the last time we play as Kratos? Is this the last time we play as Atreus? We were told that this is the last of the Norse mythology arc, and now it makes me wonder, are we going to a new one? We could go tons of places with this. My personal choice, my number one choice of where I want the story to go, believe it or not, is I want to follow Atreus. God of War Ragnarok proved one major thing, and that is you don't actually have to play as Kratos to have a good God of War, which is pretty surprising. We ended this story with Atreus out on his own mission, away from Kratos, trying to prove to himself that he's his own man and he has his own story to write. The whole point of this entire game was to prove that prophecy does not define you. It is up to you to write your own story. It's repeated multiple times throughout the campaign, and of course is the cap-off to the ending. Faye kept the true ending of their story away from them so that they would write their own quote-unquote prophecy. I actually thoroughly enjoyed playing as Atreus. He had a great combat skill set to him. It wasn't too far away from Kratos, and I think if we actually gave him some mythological weapons similar to like the Leviathan axe and the Blades of Chaos, we could see some pretty cool gameplay and pretty cool storyline out of him. He's off hunting for the giants, and that could be just about anywhere in all the 9 realms. Now, the game developers said that this was the end of Norse mythology. Well, I'm wondering if we could go beyond that. Maybe Atreus could be the story that we see in the Egyptian mythos. Atreus could pass over those realms and go into this different land that is in the Egyptian mythos, and we could see him take on Montu, their quote-unquote god of war. I personally would like to see this story be fulfilled. We've seen Atreus go from this pompous, annoying child to quote-unquote getting his equilibrium back, as Mimir would say, to growing into this kind warrior of a man, but also a leader. Atreus was very close to his mother, and his mother was a giant, so he associates with the giants more than anybody. So to see him go out and try to find the rest of his people and bring them together and be the leader of his people, i.e. the champion of the Jotnar, would be a great story to cap off. And at this point, to take a risk and go away from Kratos entirely would seem crazy, but I think Santa Monica Studios has done nothing but prove that we can trust in their story writing and trust that they would do it kindly and they would do it well. God of War 2018 and God of War Ragnarok together as one story has become the perfect example of how these video games should be written and how stories should be told, period, through any sort of media. I personally trust Santa Monica. I trust them to come together and create an original story with this character, making it his own. Now, that's not to say that Kratos' story is completely over either. An idea that I recently had is that Kratos goes back to Greece and tries to rebuild all that he destroyed when he left. In the original God of War games 1 through 3, Kratos did quite a bit of damage, taking out all the gods of the Greek pantheon. To see who he is now, the fully grown and fully achieved character that he is now, go back and redeem what he did in his past, wouldn't entirely be that bad. Plus, let's be real, having Mimir in Greece learning and talking all these stories would be pretty funny to watch. Either way, I don't think that this is the end of God of War, but I do think it's the split. I don't know where it's going to go from here, and I don't think a lot of people know where it's going to go from here. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this was the end of God of War. We have a happy ending. We have 2 phenomenal games. And by phenomenal games, I mean not just God of War. I mean video games. So maybe it could end, and we can end on a good note, and it can be a great story that comes together after years and years of this character, both good and bad. God of War Ragnarok was my game of the year, and I know it didn't get that. Hats off to Elden Ring fans. I never played it, but you guys won, fair and square. But to say that God of War Ragnarok is a bad game, that would be quite an overstatement. Both 2018 and Ragnarok together have truly defined how video games should be written, and I'm very excited to say that they are easily in my top 5 games of all time, and I think they're in the top 5 games of a lot of people. Games like this only come once in a blue moon. We thought it couldn't happen again after 2018, and 2018 was full of phenomenal games themselves that only come once in a blue moon. Spider-Man, Red Dead Redemption 2, stories that were well written and well paced. If anything, it just makes me sad to see how anybody's going to top anything in 2023 with all these great games coming together. All in all, I want to see these characters again, and I'm sure we will. Let me know in the comments if you have any idea where it's going to be. I know a lot of people are really hoping for that Egyptian mythos. But I'm really sliding into the fact that maybe it's time for Atreus' story to continue and Kratos can take a back seat for a little bit. Let me know what you think. Until my next video, thanks for listening. Cheers.